years, I've made over 40 lookbook videos like the one you guys just saw, and there's a couple of tips that you guys should be following if you want to kill your next lookbook video. So let's jump right into it. Starting off with number one, which is storytelling. This is a key component to any type of filmmaking, and for this particular reason, we got to analyze this video in detail, okay? So this New Balance video that I made, the whole purpose of it was to demonstrate how to style sneakers with clothing. And the narrative and the story that I was trying to tell is that the New Balance 990 is an amazing shoe that you can wear both in casual environments, like when you're out with your friends at a park or whatever, but also a shoe that you can wear when you're in the office in a more corporate, formal setting. So whether you're in a finance meeting or you're chilling with your boys, you can still pull off a dope fit. And so the key here is that I wanted to paint the picture of that narrative. And the way that I did that first was by placing myself in an office type environment. So this was shot in Toronto, and fortunately I was able to get an office that basically had nobody in it, which is great. And another aspect that I did to sort of paint this picture in the narrative as well is by using props to tell the story as well. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was wearing, you know, like a laptop bag, and you know, the whole story was me making a cup of coffee. And so in office environments, coffee culture is a big thing, so that was another element to it. And ultimately, if you place all the pieces together, you know, the way that I was dressed, the environment that I was in, and some of those props, it really tells that narrative that, hey, this guy's in an office type environment. You saw the elevator, you know, I'm walking through the kitchen office, I'm making the coffee, things just sort of make sense. So if you want to kill your next lookbook video, try thinking of the sneaker or the article of clothing and imagine how you would be wearing it and what setting you would be wearing it. So if you're out with your friends, maybe ask your friends to get involved in the video. If you're wearing an athletic sneaker that you plan to run in, well, why not make your lookbook you running in the sneaker? Maybe you're on a track, maybe you're on a path. So those are some of the storytelling elements that you guys should be thinking of. So let's jump into number two, which is how to plan your shots. So the next key component is actually going to be planning your shots, and the way that I've done that is with a storyboard. And essentially what that is just grabbing a piece of paper, dividing it into rectangles, and literally illustrating the type of shot that you are going to want to take. And so I am not, you know, good at drawing by any means, so these are literally stick figures and just notes essentially. And the notes here are going to outline some key details that I need to remember. So that includes the type of lens that I envision using, how many frames per second am I shooting at, all of these different types of elements. This way, when I show up to the scene, all I gotta do is just frame my shot, take it, make sure all the outside sources are good, like the lighting and the sound, and then double checking that it looks good. If it does, I just sequentially move over to the next shot, and it is just something that is just gonna alleviate so much less time for frustration and just guessing essentially, which is what I used to do, where I used to show up and just be like, okay, well maybe this looks good, maybe that looks good, and then I go look at it in post and it's crap. So this way, when you plan your shots, everything is gonna look nice, it's gonna be neat, it's gonna be organized, and ultimately it's gonna save you time and just give you that mental clarity that your video as you're shooting it is going well. But ultimately, let's move on to number three, which is the audio and sound design. So audio and sound design are a really important piece for these videos. So I don't know if you guys could tell, but all of the sounds that you're hearing are actually downloaded from external sources and were not used by the microphone of my camera. That includes the elevator noises, the footsteps, the coffee machine, pretty much everything. And so I just want to give you guys a clear example of what the video sounds like with no sound effects versus what it sounds like with sound effects. And so putting a lot of detail and thought into the audio experience of your videos is really what's going to separate you from the rest. And so I would highly recommend putting a lot of thought into the type of music that you guys use and the sound effects. So I use Epidemic Sound, which is a paid subscription, but there are a lot of different free resources that you guys can use, and I'll link a bunch in the description box below, including the free music YouTube library where you can find great sounds. I've used those for a number of years, and sound effects, they can be used through through YouTube, just type in whatever sound effects, and then you can use a YouTube to MP3 converter to download it. Just make sure everything is royalty free. This way you don't run into any copyright issues. Or you could just search Google for, you know, free sound effects, free copyright free sound effects, that kind of thing. And ultimately, that is what's going to take your video to the next level, is not only enhancing that video experience, but also enhancing that audio experience. So let's jump into number 4, which talks about the importance of lighting. So lighting is one of the most important aspects of any video, and including this video that I'm shooting right now, separate from my lookbook videos, I do put a lot of thought into lighting, and I'm going to show you guys right here. So off to my side over here, I have this ring light that's reflecting a nice warm light onto one side of my face. In front of me, I have 2 floodlights that are actually bouncing off the wall, which are going to give me a nice soft lighting source. And then behind me, I have this portable light that is going to amplify this little spot on the wall that's going to give me a little bit of a halo effect and is going to separate me and create that depth from me and the wall behind me. And so the value here is that, you know, getting the right lighting is gonna, you know, make you be more flattering to the audience, right? And so when you're talking about fashion and lookbook videos, ultimately that's something that's gonna be really important to you, right? Making sure that you look good in your outfit that you're wearing, you know? So it's really simple. There's a number of great resources for you guys to, you know, increase your lighting game. So I'm gonna leave a couple links to some amazing videos that have helped me out along the way. But ultimately, one of the best lighting sources that you guys can get is simply just standing in front of a window and getting that natural sunlight. It's going to be nice and soft, and ultimately it's going to be really flattering for you. But one thing I do want to caution is that when shooting outside in natural light, it can be quite harsh on your skin. So that's just one thing. There's a big difference between lighting from a window and lighting from direct sunlight. So just keep that in mind. But ultimately, I want to talk to you guys about number 5 on the list, which is the type of gear that you need. So the last part of this video that I wanted to talk about is the type of equipment and gear that you need. And the reason why that it's last on the list is just to show you that you guys don't need like the highest end gear to shoot an amazing lookbook video. Ultimately, if you have a phone, you have a camera, and if you have a camera, you can shoot content. So it's quite simple. You know, most cameras, iPhones, Androids, they shoot in 1080p. The camera that I'm shooting is in 1080p, so ultimately equipment doesn't matter for this one. And when it comes to a microphone, you can buy a relatively inexpensive microphone source that will ultimately give you some great audio experience. So there's a lavalier mic that clips onto your shirt. I use those for many of my videos, and I think it was like $20 on Amazon. So what I'll do is I'll link that in the description box below for you guys to check out, you know, and a couple audio options as well, because I have a mic right here that you guys might be able to see, and you know, I invested in that one. It was a couple $100, but once again, this is an investment for me for years to come, and this is stuff that, you know, I'm gonna be using for a long time. So it's important for me to get the best audio experience that I can for my budget, but everybody has a different budget. So you could be a student at school, and if you come up with $20 from your parents or from a job that you're working, then you can get great audio source. But one of the key things to keep in mind with audio specifically is just making sure that the microphone is as close to you as possible. And if you have a camera and a smartphone, make sure it's positioned right and you're in the center of the frame. And ultimately, you know, gear is just not something that you need to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars for. You know, there have been you know, blockbuster movies that have been shot on iPhone. So that is just one thing to keep in mind when it comes to gear. You don't got to spend a ton of money. I'm sure you guys have a lot of it at home already. All you guys got to do now is just follow those 5 simple tips on how to create an amazing lookbook video. Like I said, I've come a long way. I've shot great videos, and I've shot, you know, okay videos. And the important thing is that this is a lot of progress, and you guys will evolve over the years just like I did. I'm not even a pro, and so it just excites me seeing my progress on my YouTube channel, thinking about, you know what, in the past 2 years I've come this way, so I'm really excited for the next 2 years after that. And so without further ado, if you guys want to see some of my how to style playlists that you guys can see, those 40 videos as I mentioned earlier, all you got to do is just click that video right there. So why don't we do that, and I'll meet you guys there. Thanks.